Okay, you're live. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Good evening and welcome to the Senior Liaison Committee meeting for Monday, February 22nd. Having just checked the queue, we had nobody waiting for public comments. So we'll move on to approval of the minutes from the January meeting.
Sure, I'd like to make a motion to approve the January 25th meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. John, do you have a town manager's report on the Community Senior Center project?
Well, basically, it's the same from the report from last week to the town council, where most of the outdoor work, such as the site work and masonry work, is sort of on hold due to the weather. But they are working inside, getting the HVAC ductwork done and the plumbing completed, as well as working on the interior walls and so on. And we do have the package they're working on for the audio visual equipment and the security package. And so that's pretty much it. They're doing a lot of work inside right now, so you're not seeing much getting done due to the snow outside.
Any questions for John? No? Okay. We'll move on to our senior center staff update. Activities, programs. And Missy, I know you just sent out some, I guess a PDF file with some updates, and we could just discuss it at a high level and see what questions come, and if we need to, we could share it.
I did. So it's basically what Mary at the library, Mary Hogan and Craig Bowman from Parks and Rec and I have been meeting to work collaboratively on programming for the new center space and how to utilize the space most efficiently and effectively. A lot of logistics involved, things like where to place the piano so that it can be used during the day for the seniors, but also be used for Parks and Rec for lessons without moving it around a lot. So a lot of logistics with that. So we have a very, very rough draft of what we've started to plug in. The spreadsheet that John Murphy can put up and share is just a snapshot of a 1 week period, Monday through Friday, trying to incorporate and encompass what Denise had that was successful, as well as what has been requested. So really trying to utilize the kitchen, the art room. Obviously, we have very designated spaces that were needed to be filled in and could be filled in, but we could expound upon what we couldn't offer before. So we've really taken all the surveys and suggestions. And again, just a very rough draft in the beginning. We are in the process of discussing what Parks and Rec offers versus seniors, and how do we make that available to everybody, but also allow the seniors to have their specific time. And certainly Denise can expound upon that, but I know even in her discussion about a lot of her physical ed classes and exercise classes, talking about offering different levels, beginner levels, more advanced levels, different times, breaking up the space that we have, utilizing the smaller rooms, but also what programming we can grow with the bigger space and what we can involve more people in. So this is the very beginning. It is pre-budget, so there are a lot of factors that are going to go into what the final sort of draft looks like. And we've started a slideshow presentation as well that we're hoping can be shared, going into the soft opening and the grand opening, to sort of help people understand really what our vision is for the rooms, what it will offer for spacing and programming, and what can be done in that. So that is what we have been working on and discuss sharing with you this month's meeting, where we're at and sort of where we're going with that. So we've color coordinated a color code. Parks and Rec, Nick worked on this from Parks and Rec and offered us this system so that library and human services, as well as Parks and Rec, could kind of plug in, so we could start to see where we would have overlaps or gaps that we were using. I'm not sure if anybody has any specific questions.
Missy, I'll start with it. Just as a general, it looks like senior programming will be from approximately 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And
Yes,
then Parks and Rec will take that afternoon into the evening hour.
yes.
That just as a generalization.
Mhm.
Is there, and I know we're looking at a very, a draft, but I really want to stress that. Any discussion though on multi-generational programming?
Yep, we do have multi-generational program that'll come up next. That was one of sort of the contingencies on the budget. But we do have that both Parks and I know Senior Center as well as Lori and her youth center. We have specific ideas that we've drafted up in small amounts in each budget to look at intergenerational programming and bringing that together. So that is definitely in the works and has been discussed and looking to see what we can do with that going forward. Again, that historically has been difficult. I think it will be more successful in conjunction with library and Parks and Rec. And I think that's one of the programs that really will be pivotal in the idea of the cohesive multi-department offered programming. Because historically the senior center was always available from first thing in the morning with the walk track at 7 a.m. through 3 p.m. when the buses sort of picked them up, and then Parks and Rec would pick up that space. And a lot of times we reached out to the local high school or some other avenues to get some of the children involved, and it became very difficult because the kids were in after school programs. So then it became a weekend thing, which was primarily Parks and Rec. So we're working to figure out how do we all offer at least maybe once a week something that's more family oriented or something for parents or grandparents to bring. I know Craig in Parks and Rec has I want to say, I think Wednesdays he has like a mommy and me type class or like a preschool class that involves the parents as well. But we would like to sort of bring in aspects that we've talked about, like ethnicity or cultural awareness and trainings and educational programs with multi-generational. So if we could get 2 or 3 generations together, but we have in fact thought up a couple ideas specifically regarding veteran involvement with some of the younger kids, some historical lessons and documenting histories. We've talked about a grandparent specific program to come, but I'm hoping that will attract some of those younger seniors that we talked about as well. Maybe working seniors that could in fact participate with other generations that don't quite feel like they want to come in or can come in during the day for a senior specific, but can potentially bring in their families or others to get involved in some other activities. But that is the logistics that we need to work out as this becomes more refined.
Maybe questions? I know this was one of your requests.
Yeah, I was having a little hard time reading this, but that's okay. And then some of the like the lunch and learn or the learning things, are we talking about streaming in potential classes from community college or UConn or from other senior centers that may be having some kind of programs? Could you kind of explain a little bit, or are those just live lectures? I guess
It's a
Go
combination.
ahead, Ms.
I'm
No,
sorry.
go ahead.
No, you were both talking at the same time, so I didn't hear the
Go
answer.
ahead, Denise, go ahead. Denise, you're muted. I can hear her talking through the wall. Now I can hear her and she, unmute yourself. No? So I'm gonna go help her with her microphone in a minute, but it is a combo, Mimi. Historically, I know that Denise brought in a lot of facilities, Harvard Healthcare and other financial lectures and things. However, I know she has reached out to surrounding towns, to other senior centers to see if we could collaborate, join forces and get some classes on board.
So we're talking about like language classes or history.
I
or
don't
just
have specifics and
General, any kind of class.
any
that
kind
was
of classes
interest.
at this point. Yeah, this is a snapshot of what a week will look like. Again, there is no way, because depending on the season is different activities levels and different things going on. So it is impossible to write in every specific. It would be a slot that any sort of lunch and learn could take place.
Okay, so I just want to know that those options are still out there. Obviously, I didn't expect it in this particular
Yeah.
week, but there was still option. That's still an option. Okay.
Lunch and learn would imply any sort of, whether it be in person or streamed in, would imply come and have lunch and sort of double, we will offer some sort of programming or
Mhm.
presentation.
Yep.
Okay, hang on. I'm gonna have her come in here and go switch and see if I can. Denise, come on in here. I don't know why I'm black and white and very magnified too. So we're clearly having some technical issues. You were on.
Yeah. Okay. On the lunch and learn, what I have done in the past, I have brought in different companies, insurance. I have reached out to restaurants. I have reached out to the different colleges and home care. It's a variety that we have reached out to. Financial, we have done that. That was very well received. A lot of the healthy eating that we reached out to, that was well received. So,
Have you gotten any information on, let's say if we had like a class of some kind, like a language class or a history class or something from UConn or Central, have you?
I have not reached out yet, but that is on, when you look at the PowerPoint, we have included that. We haven't gone to that step,
I just wanted to make sure it's still on the table.
It
Good.
is on the table. Yeah, if you look
I
at the
think they would
PowerPoint,
also use, like the library has contacts too, that they get speakers from too. So it's a coordinated effort between the two groups.
That's fine. And some of those could be multi-generational as well, because they could be, high school kids that want to take some class or something too. So yeah, that's great. No, that's, as long as it's on the table, good.
yes, it is.
This, Melissa, are we bringing the movies over to the community center or splitting in between the library and the movie?
So we're, splitting them. We did speak to the library. They have certain copywriting. They can only present things in the library under their license. However, the senior center will have senior/community center. I say senior center meaning during the day is what I'm implying by that. We do have that screen. So I think we have plugged in at least one time per week right after lunch. We have a movie, and then other times we're trying to look at mixing it up with the different arts. So whether it be a movie, a musical, music lessons, a performer, something very
Travel
arts.
around the world.
Yeah, travel around the world program. So, but we will be presenting movies in the senior center. And I suspect that the library, Mary did communicate that she would like to move that program over to our space. So I think that would probably be something we have to work out the logistics of the library offering that, but in our space under her licensing constraints.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And Missy, I'll ask you one other question, and it's just very general, and I don't mean it to be real specific. Part of the community senior center was building a cafe model in, and any thought of like coffee and learn or coffee and networking or something earlier in the day where we could use the cafe portion as well as attract people?
We have not programmed for that. I know Denise included in her budget, and in our budget, we've sort of set aside a little bit in our budget designated to having some of those things for that purpose. So to answer your question, yes, the thought is there. It is an open space and a lobby space. So I'm not quite sure. And again, I know things will eventually start to clear up. It's very, very difficult to plan programming when we have no idea of the perimeters and sort of that space. But We historically have tried different approaches to have the seniors in on coffee. I know Denise has always had the coffee going, and
It's more,
facilities has
right.
helped provide that first thing in the morning that they use. So yes, the
Drop-in.
answer is yes, like a drop-in coffee hour. I know several groups of seniors like to meet at McDonald's and some other Bob's Coffee Shop locally on a daily basis to kind of chat. So we are hoping to provide something in that area. And again, we've included it in the budget. We just don't have the specific programming yet, but we certainly have that on the radar.
The majority of the seniors have been asking, they just want it really to be more of a drop-in. No set, like, they don't need to have the lectures. They want it more if we're going to have lectures in different rooms. It was more for what we have been hearing, more social. For the cafe.
So more of a socializing network than a programmed area.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not really technology. I think there's a screen that will be up behind that area, or potentially John could probably answer that. John Murphy could answer that for us. But the plan is
Television going to be
Yeah.
up back there.
up in the cafe. I know at one point that was part of the discussion. I'm not sure if that's still in the plan. But other than that, there's not really a lot of technology. The rooms are set up for that, Alan. So if you're talking more structured, that probably not necessarily would take place out in that open space. Because once the senior center opens, that's the main entrance where people will be walking by for either of those to get to the gym, to get to the classrooms, to get, so it would be difficult to have a lecture type, but that doesn't mean there can't be some sort of a theme to drop in and have coffee. Or I know, for instance, using this as an example, but the mayor who was available historically, some of the mayors like to do that once a month for open chat. Some of the staff members here in town could rotate and be available for people if they had questions. There's a lot of different things we can do with that.
Great. I think it's a good start. Obviously, we got a budget to go through and COVID to finish the vaccines
Right.
before you could put it all together.
Right.
I think Ed had a question also. I saw a hand go up.
Yeah, who's going to control the TV channel changer?
I am.
In my house, I'm in charge of the controller, but not here.
Ed, that's an arm wrestling event.
But we'll just leave it on channel 16 so you can watch all these meetings.
That's right.
You could, yeah, binge watch episodes.
What we want to see is all of our Zoom faces over and over and over again.
Well, thank you for the update.
Do we have a puzzle share? Like you can pick up a puzzle, take it home, bring it back.
Yep.
Yes.
We've always-
I assumed we do. And that's at the library?
No, we had it at senior services. I know Denise always had
In the
puzzles out on
lounge.
the table in the lounge. We here at Human Services often drop them off for families or homebound people. We have people who use a puzzle, donate it, and then we bring them to some of our home visits. If we have young kids out of school or seniors, we've used them, I think, and the library has them. So I think several of the departments are kind of very popular.
Is the matrix going to be on the website in case for the next meeting so that public can put in their 2 cents? Because I think it might be hard for people to have seen it today, but maybe before the next meeting, just so they could just see what they think. And obviously it's not in stone, and we understand that, but just a thought. If people, at some point, people will want to have an input, I would think, before it's in stone.
I'm not sure at this point. That would be the call of certainly John, or I mean, it's literally the initial draft. I'm happy to hear people's input, so I'm not opposed to it, but also I'm going to be honest with you, it would be very difficult to start getting inundated at this point because there are many other factors that have to go into this, and logistics and 3 departments. So I'm okay with it either way. It's certainly, I'm happy to have people take a look at it, but it's a draft. So at that point, I also don't want people getting upset because it's a week. It's a snapshot of just 1 week. So it will change, it will vary. We're still working on getting all of the different requests and in there and making sure that they're offered equally and at different times. So it certainly is up the committee, whatever you feel is best.
I mean, maybe a couple iterations down the road, maybe by April, it just so that people have a chance before it's in stone, I think is, so maybe April or May or something, just, you know,
Mhm.
when you have a couple other iterations might be an idea to get it out there for comment at that point.
I think that's a good idea. Again, I'm not opposed to it now. It's just very difficult, not explain, you know, if people have not seen this meeting too, it's very difficult for them to understand the logistics involved. And I think before we get through budget, it's very hard for us to continue to add things if we're not sure if we can offer them, what it will look like, what the interest is, what we're getting for volunteer base, those kind of things. So, but
So
it's
maybe the May meeting, maybe the May meeting then, because that would be after budget, right? Budget would be
Absolutely.
mid-May, so, yeah.
At that point, we may have a good idea of what we're working with, what we can offer, what we have for staffing and all kinds of other factors that will go into this too. So I
That
just
makes
don't
sense.
want
Fine
to
with that.
I don't want to see a lot of people put a lot of effort into making suggestions that we can't then deliver right off the bat, not quite knowing with COVID and all of that. But I'm happy for anybody's input that has a request or a thought.
And maybe a great spot for comments would be to the public comment section. At
Right.
Many of our meetings is the way to kind of provide it. So we're not, you know, inundating Missy and Denise with emails and phone calls.
But they just need to be able to see it though. That's, but maybe
Sure.
we should wait a couple iterations down the line.
But once we approve the meeting minutes, that'll be part of what's posted to the
That's true.
the meeting agendas in minutes. So then it becomes available to everybody,
Good
just
point.
as anybody that would like to log in and look.
That works.
Any other questions? No? How about an update on our COVID-19 vaccination program?
So we did have our first clinic run by the Central Connecticut Health District this past weekend. We had 50 slots at Mosier School. It went really, really well. A shout out to Christina, our caseworker here, who worked really diligently on the schedule. She did a phenomenal job. We had a backup list. We only had one person who got confused and could not show, and we were able to fill that slot immediately. We had 3 staff members from Human Services there, but there was representation from everywhere from the town manager down to, and the mayor was there, Ed was there, and several other departments who stopped in, who helped. I thought it went very smoothly. That's my opinion of it. Next weekend, we are scheduled to have a clinic for 110 doses available. And at this point, we were at 109 a couple of hours ago. However, for anybody who is out there listening and interested, please continue to call in here to Human Services if you're interested in getting on the list, because there's always cancellations, and that list updates constantly and will not be finalized until probably Friday afternoon. So if you are interested, it's not necessarily too late. If you don't have another available way or method to get a COVID vaccine and would be interested in receiving one here in town, please give us a call and we can review the guidelines and sort of who they're for and what we can offer. The minibus was run that offered transportation for 3 residents to get there on Saturday, so we did do that. I thought it went really well.
So Melissa, the one that you went the past weekend was for 75 and older. And then the one for this coming weekend is 65 and older.
Yeah, there were a few 65s because that was opened up before the clinic. So we were able to get a couple of 65s, but yes, primarily I would say 99% of them were the 75 and older, but at this point it is open to 65 and older.
And how are we, besides these meetings, are we putting that up on the town signs or anywhere for people to find out about them?
To be very honest with you, we haven't done a mass because it spread like wildfire. So we worked really hard to reach out to the vulnerable population that we knew. The health district did very much stress that these particular doses were intended for those who really had no other means or options. So to get out and get a vaccine. So whether it be an anxiety thing, or they do not drive, or they had nobody to stay with them if they weren't feeling well after, if they weren't very mobile because of an injury, there were a lot of reasons, but we were really focused on providing these shots because in comparison to some of the mass sites in the greater Hertford area, it was a very minuscule amount. So they were intended to be to reach those seniors that had been having difficulty getting it any other way. So we filled up by word of mouth. We had several areas here in town that represented either assisted living facilities or senior living or just family members of those who were in that position. So for example, we had several that had adult children that lived out of state and couldn't be there. So at this point, we did do some advertising, but we did not throw it out to the masses because we've been filled up very quickly.
It was on the webpage. Plus
Yeah.
also, I think the health district might,
Yes, but
Help
we
out
didn't
as
do a
well.
lot. We didn't
But
put it in the
again-
paper or anything. Yeah, that's correct.
but again, we're only limited to
Right.
50 and 100. So
Right.
I think the people that were interested were calling Human Services and getting on the list.
Now, I know we've announced it here as well as the council meeting.
Yep.
And I believe Public Safety also announced it as part of their report. So we are getting it out, but unfortunately, not everybody follows our town meetings. And, we're doing the best we can. And hopefully, everybody that wants a vaccine, either whether through the town or through the state or through private facilities, are able to get them as they become available.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions on the vaccine?
Of course, the governor's going to announce or has announced some additional availability to age groups, like starting March 1st, 55 to 64 years old, and March 22nd, 45 to 54, April 12th, 35 to 44, and May 3rd, 16 to 34. And of course, that all depends on the vaccines that are available at that time. But they are expanding the age. I think it looks like they're going by age group more than business type, like first responders and so on. But I think the next group will have the teachers in it as well as the 55 to 65.
Right, teachers, and I did see the press conference. So it was teachers and school staff. So it's not just the teachers, anybody that's working in the school, including bus drivers. So we're getting there slowly. All right, anything under new business?
Nope.
No. And might as well ask, do we have anything under other?
No.
No. Then I'll entertain
No
a
other.
motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you,
Aye.
everyone. We'll see you at our next meeting.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Aye.